morning, everybody. Morning, everybody out there in TV land. Can you hear me? Nodding. Yes, good. Thank you. Let's pray and we'll get started. Dear Father in heaven, thank you for the blessings of another day, especially this day when we have time to spend with Genesis 3 and consider what it is that went wrong in the beginning, the very beginning, why that went wrong, what that means going forward, and how you not only anticipated that, but made a creation so that even the failure of Adam and the corruption of our nature because of him would work ultimately for good. So bless our conversation, the students today and their studies and all through the weekend, and all of us, loved ones and friends, each according to our needs for Jesus' sake. Amen. All right. So I showed you a video. If you were, a couple of you were here early, saw the video. I'm a rebel just for kicks now. I think that relates a little bit to what happened to Adam in the garden. So why did he become a rebel? Well, maybe it was just for kicks. Maybe it was to try it out, but he didn't really know the consequences of that. How could he? Okay, so Isabel? No, Isabel. Jake? No, Jake. Jalissa, can you read this slide for us, please?
Yeah, I will. Sorry. My camera is not working. Perspective and clarity, how to be made in the image of God, but not be God and not fail. 2, how the necessity of that failure was provided for within universal grace. You can't die and all things are yours. 3, what was the nature of that failure and the grace that made good of it?
Okay, so remember, think back to the chapter on God and the idea, 2 competing ideas here. One idea is that God made everything very good in the beginning, but that doesn't anticipate what's about to happen. Okay, so people try that out because it makes it sound like it's not God's fault. But then you have sort of a smaller view or idea about who God is, and that becomes problematic all the way going forward, because as you move through history, you're forced to keep thinking about what else God didn't anticipate, and will he be able to provide a solution for it? And maybe even if he does provide a solution for it, it's too late, like too much damage is done. Okay. The other possibility is that God absolutely anticipated what was going to happen. In fact, it had to happen. You can't be made in the image of God, but not be God and not fail. And so how do you keep that failure from being catastrophic? So that kind of gets you to number 2. So it's this context of universal grace. It's the nature of the essence of God, which is love, to make us in such a way that we can't die, big picture wise. Long term, you can't die, and all things are yours. And from there, then you can have a look at number 3. What's the nature of the failure and the grace that made good of it? So we're going to work on the nature of the failure today. Jordan, can you read the first passage there, Genesis 3:6?
Yes. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was so to be desired to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave some to her husband, and he ate.
Jordan, do you see what the problem is already in this verse? What has gone wrong, or at least what has changed from Genesis 1 and 2? Or does it look okay still?
It doesn't look okay. The problem might be because it was good to the eye, and she just took of it, even though she was specifically told. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. You're working on it, Jordan. Don't give up. What about she took and ate and she gave to her husband? let's just actually zero in on she gave to her husband. Does something sound wrong about that?
Mm,
Like, who's supposed to be doing the giving in this relationship, male and female, according to God's design?
biblically, yeah.
Say that again?
Biblically, yes, him. He is supposed to be giving the so
Who's
oh
supposed to be?
yes. So the problem is that she went out and found food, and biblically the design was that the man was supposed to go out and find and provide and feed and all those things.
Yeah, thinking big picture. Adam's supposed to be the provider and the giver, not the other way around. So let's go back. Thank you, Jordan. Let's go back. Kira, can you read the middle paragraph?
Yeah. Now the serpent was more subtle than any other wild creature in the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God say you shall not eat any of the tree of the garden, any tree of the garden?" And the woman said to the serpent, "Well, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but God said, you shall not eat of the fruit of the tree of which is in the midst of the garden, neither shall you touch it, lest you die." But the serpent said to the woman, "You will not die."
All right, thank you, Kira. So, what do you see wrong in this paragraph? So we're backing up and see how is it that what is wrong in verse 6 is wrong? So let's go back, verses 1 through 4. Do you see anything wrong in these verses? Besides a talking serpent? That's a little weird right off the bat. Kira? Or does it look okay to you?
I mean, the only thing wrong would be that they ate from the wrong tree. Like she like claims to not know which one was the,
Yes. So she hasn't done anything yet, right?
yeah.
It's just a conversation. Is anyone missing in this conversation?
Adam.
Yeah, where the heck is Adam? Do you know where he is, Kira?
I don't.
Do you think he's there or he's someplace else?
It's probably somewhere else.
Probably somewhere else. So go back up to verse 6. Is he there or is he somewhere else?
Somewhere else.
Oh, look. And she gave some to her husband.
Oh, he's there.
He has to be there, doesn't he? Unless like Eve has this awesome baseball arm and she takes this apple and throws it like 300 yards to wherever Adam was, which is probably not the case. So he's right there. So something else is wrong here. Kira, do you see it? Adam's there, but
He's not talking. He's like letting her do all the talking.
yes, she's talking, Adam's not talking, and something else, something even behind that. Thank you, Kara. Kyle, do you see what it is? It's not just that Eve's talking instead of Adam. What else?
I'm not sure.
Oh, Kyle, who spoke first in the narrative? Verse 1.
The serpent.
So the first thing you meet in chapter 3 is a serpent, and the serpent's talking, okay? And the serpent's talking to
Eve.
Animal.
Why isn't the serpent talking to Adam?
He knows that talking to the woman will be easier.
Say it again.
Talking to the woman might be a little easier since Adam knows about the tree and Eve might have forgotten.
You're sneaking up on it. So Eve might have forgotten. He's afraid Adam knows more about the tree, so let me talk to Eve. But Jake, do you have a girlfriend?
Yes.
Let a snake talk to your girlfriend?
No.
No. If there was a snake, would you get between your girlfriend and the snake?
Yes.
That's the right answer, even if we wouldn't, because I'm not sure I would either, but I make my wife walk ahead of us when we're hiking because she wants to hike and I don't. So if there's a snake, I figure that's on her, but that's my failure. Okay, so see, something's already gone wrong here. The end of Genesis 2, it sounds great, right? This is now flesh of my flesh and bone of my bone. She'll be called woman because she was brought from the man, and they were both naked and they were not ashamed. Sounds perfect. And then, whoa, 3 verse 1. Everything's already sideways here. Sometimes in the Bible, but also in film, that's movies that you watch or books that you read, there's a gap. Like something's happened that the author isn't telling you about. So you have to kind of think about it as you look back. Like, I know what was, and this is how things are now. What went wrong in the middle? Okay? So what went wrong is on the edge of the page, so to speak. Okay, so look at the list. Well, let me have you read the list. That's good. Lauren, can you read the list for us, please? You can do this, Lauren, so the kids can hear you.
Why is the devil talking to Eve? Where did Eve get neither shall you touch it? Who else rejected God's own word but added and enforced their own? When or where else in biblical literature is silence profound?
Okay, so we got that going into this. So let's get the whole text out there in front of us. Marissa, can you read this page for us, please?
Yeah. Now the serpent was more subtle than any other wild creature than the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God say you shall not eat of any tree of the garden?" And the woman said to the serpent, "We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. But God said, you shall not eat of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, neither shall you touch it, lest you die." But the serpent said to the woman, "You will not die, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took of its fruits and ate, and she also gave some to her husband, and he ate. Then the eyes of both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. And they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord. Sorry, I can't read the rest.
God among the trees of the garden. Okay, so they hid out. So if you remember from Genesis 1 and then Genesis 2, we looked at the details after the text, and you notice that the number of details increases, which means the size of the print on the screen keeps getting smaller, more and more details. One of the things you'll find in the Bible is that there's kind of no extra words in there. It's not padded. So like the Lord of the Rings, any of you heard of that? The Lord of the Rings, that's a lot of pages to read. If you know the movie, the 3 movies, it's like 9 hours of this little short guy throwing this ring into a volcano. Now really, did that take 9 hours? So lots of things that are written and produced, you could take a lot of it out and not miss anything. But some things are written. Some of you are reading the G.K. Chesterton Everlasting Man. Maybe you have familiarity with other books, maybe the Constitution of the United States, right? Some things are written, you have to pay attention to every single word. So notice how it begins. The serpent was more subtle. Now looking backwards, calling that creature serpent matters, right? Because generally speaking, serpents creep us out. For one reason, in a lot of cases, they're deadly, and they're going to be deadly to you. In another way, it's just that we don't like how they operate. It's not like being around a dog or a cat or a bird or something. I just don't like the way snakes operate. So when we look back into the text, the reason that this creature is called a serpent is because it will become what we know as a snake and what we know about snakes and the subtlety of it, right? So one of the difficult things about snakes is that they'll sneak up on you, or that they will bite you from behind, and that's in play here too. So he says to the woman, now what I want you to think about is something already happened that the devil heard, and so is going to take advantage of that. What is it that the devil heard that he's going to take advantage of? Now, while you're thinking about that, I want to take you forward into the New Testament, okay? In the New Testament, it says also that the devil worked through Judas Iscariot to betray Jesus, okay? How did the devil know that Judas Iscariot would make a willing host for the devil to possess, and in so doing, betray Jesus? Okay, there's a moment in the narrative in the Gospels where Judas objects to the woman who anointed Jesus' feet with oil, washed them, and all that whole thing, you know? He says, why this waste of money? And then there's a little editorial comment by the gospel writer that says, he didn't say this because he cares about poor people. He said this because he was a thief and he used to take what was in the money box. Bam! See, the devil's watching. So even though we got 12 apostles following Jesus, one of these apostles is absolutely not listening to what Jesus has to say. He's rejecting everything Jesus says as he says it, and he's stealing even while he's pretending to be an apostle. That's my man. So what is it that happened here that told the devil that this was his opportunity? Has something to do with why he's talking to the woman. Okay, 3, notice what he says. He starts with a question. Did God really say? And that's still the approach. Okay, so for example, when people are working on their taxes and they're thinking about ways to keep more money back and give less in their taxes, is there a way to do that? And then their conscience says, well, aren't you supposed to be honest about that? And shouldn't you be patriotic and a good citizen? And God has blessed you with lots of income, so shouldn't you just do it straight up? And then another voice in your head says, did God really say that you have to give all of the money in taxes that it looks like you have to give? Isn't it still legal? Isn't there still a way to get out of this? See? Or when you think about a sexual conduct of people, right? Consciences usually kick in and say, did God really say that you should live a chaste life, that you should behave yourself virtuously when it comes to interactivity? Well, then we start to move those boundaries a little bit. And then once you open the door, then it's easy for the door to swing all the way open. So did God really say? Now, number 4, there is an authority there who could answer that question, right? Adam knows exactly what God said. And think about pre-fall. Should there be a memory issue here? I don't think there's a memory issue. And if we consider the possibility that we're experiencing devolution in human history, not evolution, I want you to think about something. For example, it was a common practice in ancient times, first century coming forward, for Jewish boys to memorize the whole first 5 books of the Bible, the Torah. Would you like that assignment? I'm going to memorize Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, word for word, memorize the whole thing. But they did it. At Luther's time, so 1500s, another man that lived there, his name was Ulrich Zwingli, he memorized the whole New Testament in Greek. So he was German-speaking native, but he memorized the Greek text of the whole New Testament. Okay, now moving forward, right? It's harder and harder and harder for people to remember things, not just to memorize lots of things, but even to remember simple things. But here, Adam's memory is perfect. He knows exactly what God said. So the woman says, and then she quotes Adam, who got the word from God, right? You shall not touch the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? For the day you eat of it, you will surely die. But Eve says, neither shall you touch it. Where'd that come from? God did not say you can't touch it. He said, don't eat from it. Where did touching it come from? Now, some people propose that it was Eve who made that up. Eve's the one that added to the language. Okay, but then if that was true, then all through the rest of the Bible, it would blame her for what went wrong, right? All the rest of the Bible would reference Eve. See, everything went wrong with Eve adding to what God said, even while she dismissed what he said, because she's going to take from the tree and she's going to eat. What I'm suggesting to you is she got that from Adam. And I'll give you a couple ways to verify that, okay? First of all, to start with Adam and how you could be made in the image of God, but not be God and not fail. And what I mean by that is being made in the image of God doesn't mean you actually get, like you grasp the significance of being God, as in at the base of all things, not at the top of all things. So here's where there's an opportunity for Adam to go wrong when he thinks that being God, or therefore being made in the image of God, means being in control. And being in control means telling other people what to do, and that includes inventing things for them to do. Okay, so that's one. Two, how many of you have older siblings, and when your parents left and left the oldest sibling in charge, the oldest sibling got larger in charge and started making up stuff for you to do, telling you what you have to do, telling you what you can't do, bossing you around. None of that stuff is what the parents put in place. That's just still there, this imprint from Adam. Third, go to the New Testament. Okay, let me just do this for you. Michael, how many commandments did God give to Moses on Mount Sinai?
10.
Correct, Michael. And how many of those commandments were the Jewish religious leaders at the time of Jesus keeping, obeying perfectly?
I'm not sure.
Yes, you are. You know exactly. Do you think that the Jewish religious leaders at the time of Jesus were keeping any of those 10 commandments without failure?
Probably not.
Oh, okay. Do you know how many new commandments they invented?
No, I don't.
613. Yeah, Lauren's laughing. 613 new, now never mind the 10, right? Why did they do that? Because I can't keep the 10, but I want to have this high opinion of myself, like I'm large and in charge, like I'm better than everybody else, like I'm God. So how do I do this? How do I solve the problem that I'm not keeping the 10 commandments God gave me, but I'm a better person? God likes me better than all the other people. I know. I'll invent 613 new commandments that I will keep. I will never break these 613 commandments, but other people will break them. And that's why they're the little people and I'm God. Yes? And they get to be like on a ridiculous level. And you hear these in the Gospels. Like Jesus spit and made mud in the dirt and put it on the blind guy's eyes and gave him his sight back. And the religious leaders rejected Jesus. They condemned him for what? For making mud on the Sabbath. Oh, you have got to be kidding me, right? Is that really where your brain's at? Like, I just saw a blind guy get healed, but I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about making mud on Saturday, and that is, you go to hell for making mud on Saturday, buddy. Okay, so there's an example of it, and this is something that's problematic, not just in the first century when Jesus was here, but from the time of Adam on and from the time of Jesus on. Look what churches have done since the first century. Churches since the first century have made lots and lots and lots of rules. If you're Roman Catholic, you have some sense of the rules, although they keep it loosened, right? But every other church has lots of rules too. So, neither shall you touch it. When Adam told Eve, neither shall you touch it, the devil knew. Now I got it. Because as soon as Adam is going to turn away from a commitment to what God said and to his relationship that's supposed to be supportive of Eve, and he's essentially, Adam has done what the devil did. I'm going to try to take God's place. I'm going to pretend to be God, but pretending always means taking advantage of people or doing harm to people, not providing for them. Okay, so now, number 7. The serpent, remember the devil starts with a question, but now that he knows that Adam and Eve have set aside what God said in order to pretend to be God themselves, now he can just flat deny it. The serpent said to the woman, you won't die. And a lot of people think the devil was right because Eve ate and Adam ate, and not when Adam and Eve ate, did they fall down dead? You're not here. Okay, got it. Page. No. Right.
Yes.
Adam and Eve ate the fruit. Did they fall down dead?
No.
No. So we really shouldn't take seriously anything the Bible says, right? Because one of the first things the Bible says didn't happen. So probably the rest of it won't happen either, right?
No, that's not true.
Thank you. Way to resist the serpent. Okay, so how can this be true though? Adam and Eve ate from the fruit, and did they die?
Eventually they did.
Oh, okay. So God should have said that though, shouldn't he? If God was going to be honest with Adam and Eve, he should have said, in the day you eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, eventually, like about 900 years from now, you'll die. Right?
I don't know.
Don't give up so easily, right? Let me get you there because I know you can do it. Ryan, do you think it's well? First of all, let's remember that life means positive relationships, right? When all of the elements of your human physiology are working like they're supposed to, you're living, right?
Yeah.
And when any part of your human physiology isn't working like it's supposed to, then you're dying, and sooner or later, all of you will die because that one part's not working, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so think negative relationship. It's killing your relationship. And so, Rai, you could be a perfectly healthy physical person, and do you have a brother or a sister?
Yes. I have a brother and a sister.
Which one do you get along with the worst?
My sister.
Okay, so you and your sister could both be perfectly healthy physical people and absolutely at war with each other, right?
Yeah.
Be angry and hurt and miserable and sad and you could be all of those things at once. All those things are negative. You could actually be so unhappy in that relationship that you'd rather be dead, but you're not. Physiologically, your body is still alive, so you're stuck with it. Okay, so what's going to happen next, Rai, is that God is going to step in and say to Adam, hey, what went wrong? And is Adam going to own the responsibility for what went wrong? Is he going to blame Eve?
I think he owns it.
I wish you were right, Ryan.
Oh,
So many
sorry, I
ways.
forgot.
Oh, no, it's all right. Right, you are not alone. Everybody else in the room is glad that I'm talking to you and not them. So don't feel bad. Okay? So Adam says, the woman that you gave me the fruit and I ate. So notice that Adam is blaming two people at the same time. Adam first blames God. Well, first blames the woman, then blames God who gave me the woman. Yeah? Would you call people blaming each other, does that sound like a positive relationship or a negative relationship?
Negative.
So that's the definition of death, right?
Yeah, I guess, as you put it.
And so actually the negative relationship's already in play. Notice first Adam changes the rules about the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That's already negative. He's already abusing Eve by misinforming her. You know that thing about, you had one job, right? Adam, you got one job, and that is communicate to her, be in her life like God is in all of our lives. That's it. Just, it's simple. Don't eat from the tree. Why not? Because God said not to. Well, why did he say that? Because he said we'd die if we would. Okay? It's simple. 1, 2, 3. Okay, but Adam can't, it's not enough. He can't do that. So you got to add this rule, like he can control Eve by bossing her around and inventing stuff for her to do. That's already dead. The relationship's already dead. It's already negative. Okay, so all of this is just, these are like the dominoes falling that you're seeing here. So what we're doing, we're tracking the dominoes backwards, right? Okay, so first the devil starts with a flat denial. Nope, you're not going to die. And then he does something worse, is he plants this poison in your minds about why God gives you the commandments he does. Why did God say not to eat the fruit? Shane, are you out there, Shane, today? No. Shane, Ryan. Skylar.
Yes.
Why did God tell them not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil?
Well, he knew that they were going to eat from it anyway, so he kind of like told them to set an example because he knew they were going to disobey him.
What do you mean by set an example? What's that mean?
Well, like he knew that was going to be the origin of sin and it needed to start somewhere. And so that was how it started.
Okay, good. You're good working on that, Skylar. He knew it was going to start somewhere. Actually, do you think God knew more than that? He knew exactly where it would start and why it would start there.
Yeah, he planned it.
All right, so think about this. Children are made in the image of their parents, right?
Yeah.
Skylar?
Yes. Well, no, they're made in the image of God, but they look like their parents through genes.
It's trickled down from parents, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I want you to see is there's a little bit like parents are to children like God is to Adam and then Adam to Eve, okay? You with me? Okay, now, parents have had experiences with good and evil. Parents have had experiences with pain, with misunderstanding how creation works and how life works, and so they tell their children, do these things and don't do those things, right? Like, don't touch the stove.
Yeah.
Why not? Because in the day that you touch of it, you will surely die, meaning it's going to hurt like all get out. So don't do that. Okay. Now, how does it work? I didn't stand next to the stove with my children and slap them every time they reached out for it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Why? Because they won't learn what they need to learn, right? What they'll learn from that experience is that I'm in their way and that I'm actually mean to them. I'm the source of pain in their life because I keep slapping their hand and I'm frustrating them and aggravating them, and they wish they were orphans. They'd be better off. So I have to tell them, don't touch of it. That's 1. 2, this is why, because it's really going to hurt a lot, okay? And then I step away because the children are made in my image, but they don't know what I know. So how are they going to do that? How are they going to know that they're made in the image of their parents, but not their parents? How is humanity going to know that it's made in the image of God, but not God? So God steps away. I gave Adam how it works. I know it's going to happen, but how else are you going to do this? Okay, so the child touches the stove and learns, wow, that's hot. And it burns, and it's still burning. This is a bad burn, and it's a lot of pain for a long time. Now, the parent steps in, right, says, I did tell you not to do that, right? Yes. Okay, why didn't you stop me from doing that? Oh, because you would totally not understand how that works, okay? But let me tell you that there's a remedy for the burn, okay? It's built in. You will heal from this burn. So you can look at humanity in the same way, take the long view, okay? So God does know that when you eat of it, you'll be like God, knowing good from evil. But he didn't tell them something. Sydney, the devil is always like this. In other words, deceit has to have some truth involved or it won't work, right? Are you there? Sydney, let me look at you. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm here.
There you are, Sydney. Sydney, if I, let's see. If I had in my hand a piece of a cactus, one of those particularly nasty kinds of cactuses, and I said, hey, Sydney, go ahead and pop this in your mouth. You're going to really like it. Would you be tempted to eat that?
Probably not.
Absolutely not. I'm like, what, are you kidding me? Okay. And so, I don't know why I told you that. That's messing up what I'm trying to say. Okay. Oh, here we go. This is easier, Sydney. It is true what the devil says, that God told them not to eat of it because he knew that their eyes would be opened. But there's something that the devil isn't telling Adam and Eve. Do you know what it is? They'll be like God, knowing good and evil. But he should have said one more thing if he was honest. What's the difference? So God knows good from evil. Adam and Eve know good and evil. But what's true about God and not yet true about Adam and Eve?
I don't know. My brain isn't working this morning.
Fine, it's mine, Sydney. Do Adam and Eve possess a nature that only ever does good?
No.
That's what he didn't tell them. You'll be like God, knowing good from evil, but you won't be like God in as much as God only does what's good, and you're going to switch to only doing what's evil. That's what he didn't tell them. Okay, it's a little bit like how addictions work. So drug dealers will get you started for free, right? They will tell you this is free. That's not true, right? What they're putting in your hand right now, they're not charging you for, but it's not free, because what they're going to develop very quickly in you is an addiction, and then they're going to.
See, you're too nice. I'm gonna do my bitch. You can find your own right.
I said that. I said, you know, I seen you. I said, fine. And I felt bad. Yeah, and I felt bad.
Isabel.
She said that last night, because last night.
She doesn't know her mic's on. We should have listened in. Too bad we don't have a camera. All right, anyway. So, 8, God knows you'll eat of it. That's true. The devil didn't finish the sentence. Your eyes will be opened. Yes. You'll be like God, knowing good from evil. Yes. But not like God, and only ever doing what's good. So, 11. Albert, I'm so glad you're in the room, buddy. Albert, what's the significance that the tree was good for food?
I imagine, like, God said that she could eat from everything else, right? Because it had fruits and everything like that. So when she saw that it was similar as the rest in some sort of way, she decided, okay, maybe it will be good.
Yes. Thank you, Albert. So Albert said, maybe it's like the rest of the fruit, right? The rest of the fruit's good. This is good. So why wouldn't it be good for us? That's right. And why not, though, Albert, if God doesn't want them to eat from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, why doesn't he make it like this really horrible colored, stinky, awful looking, dripping, this gross stuff off of it that burns the grass underneath? Why doesn't he make it like that? Would you be tempted to eat it if it looked like that? So the situation wouldn't be real. See, it has to be real. Have any of you already thought of this? That there's nothing inherent in the fruit that makes things go bad. It's not like, okay, it's a crab apple, and when you eat the crab apple, it's going to make you crabby. See, that's just how crab apples work. They got this chemistry in them that mess up your head, and now you're crabby. It's not like that. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil makes trouble for you because you're going to disobey what God said about eating or not eating from it. It's not the fruit itself that's problematic. So it's necessary that God's creation be good in every way, and that the tree was good for food. It is good. That's not the problem. The problem is God said don't. Okay? It's in God's command that we have the challenge. And it was a delight to the eyes. So think about all of the commandments, right? Isn't there something genuinely tempting about disobeying all of the commandments, right? Isn't there something tempting out there in TV land and in the room here? Aren't there times when it's really tempting to be God? If you were God, wouldn't that simplify your life? I mean, right now, I would just make COVID go away, done, easy, simple, solve that problem, right? But then when you start solving that kind of problem, what happens when I get on the highway and there's cars in my way? Gone. I just put all those cars back where they started from. I don't have to kill those people. I'm just going to put them back home or put them somewhere where they're not in my way. So notice it turns selfish right away. Think about murder. You're not supposed to murder people, but that's kind of the obvious solution sometimes, isn't it, to problems? Bad person, let me just terminate them. Okay, wouldn't that be simpler? So the nature of creation, right, is that we're looking at sides of a coin. So the tree's good for food. It's a delight to the eyes. How do we know that we love another person and that love's genuine? It's because even though that person is a delight to my eyes, and I'm feeling emotions and feelings towards that person, I'm not going to let those feelings and emotions rule me. I'm going to let virtue rule. So I'm going to treat that person as a caretaker, not as one who's taking advantage of the other person. So the tree was desired to make one wise, true or false? Ashley, will the tree make them wise?
No.
And why do you say no, Ashley?
Because the tree doesn't talk or anything, I guess. So it couldn't make them wise.
Ashley, do you think there's more than one kind of wise? Ever heard the expression worldly wise or streetwise? No, streetwise?
I think so.
What streetwise means?
Not exactly.
It means I know how evil works, right? So I know how evil works for two reasons. One is because I do evil things and I know how to do them without getting caught. The other is because I know that, I know how to prevent things from happening to me. So like I was at a convention once in Pittsburgh with a lot of people from around the United States, and a lot of people from country areas in the middle of the United States were getting robbed. They were having their luggage stolen and their billfolds and purses stolen. Why? Because they don't know how it works in Pittsburgh. I didn't have any trouble at all because I grew up in the street, so I know what I'm looking for and what's looking for me kind of thing. So there is this worldly wise, but that's a very different thing than a divine wisdom, right? A divine wisdom is always good. It knows the potential for evil and anticipates that and provides this remedy for it going in. So this is how deceit works. This is how the devil works. This is how the human ego works, is that it knows how to entice people. It knows how to twist the truth or leave some of the truth out in order to do harm instead of good. So she took from the tree and ate 14. Do you see a key word, Austin, in sentence 14 that's really problematic? One word. It doesn't sound like how a perfect creation should function.
Took.
Right? You can't, love's a game of give and take. Remember a couple of weeks ago I said there's a problem with that, right? It's not give and take. Our relationship with God and his with us is not give and take. It's give and be given to. That's a very different thing. Okay, thank you. So 15. She also gave some to her husband. What's the matter with that, Brendan?
She gave the other way around.
A little louder, Brendan, can you?
I said she gave, and it's supposed to be the other way around. He's supposed to be the one giving.
Exactly right. So Adam should be doing the giving, not Eve. And that's how you know he's there. He wasn't absent. And then he ate and he knew he shouldn't do that. Okay, 17. Now we start to see not the nature, not the fall itself, but the consequences of the fall. So the eyes of both of them were opened. Cameron, were they blind before this, Adam and Eve?
No.
So what does it mean their eyes were opened?
Were or weren't, did you say?
Were opened. The text says 17, the eyes of both of them were opened.
They knew what they were doing.
Go ahead.
They knew what they were doing, but they knew what they were doing.
Okay, so sometimes in the Bible, you try and see if you can remember this, sometimes in the Bible, the and is not a plus sign. It's not like I went to the store, got apples and bananas. It's an equal. So then the eyes of both of them were opened. Well, you'd say to yourself, well, weren't their eyes already open? They could see, yes, but in this text, it means they knew that they were naked. Okay, so Carolina? No. Carolina, Dominic. Edwin, are babies uncomfortable or nervous or embarrassed about being naked?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. I would say not, because I mean they don't really have the mentality yet. Like they're still pure, you know.
Nice word, Edwin, mentality. Now babies have brains, right?
Yeah.
Babies are thinking about stuff, right?
Yeah.
They have feelings.
Right.
Right, okay. But I've never seen a baby like complain about being naked or like try to cover up their private parts when other people are around and getting their diaper changed or whatever, okay? And you can go to the ocean and sometimes you'll see little kids without swimsuits, right?
Right, I guess.
Okay. Now, Edwin, there is a time though, isn't there? And you don't have to tell a little kid this. There's a time when a little kid won't want to be naked out in public, right?
Yeah.
We don't want people to see us like that, right?
Correct.
So I've seen surfers change out of their swimsuit and into dry clothes on the beach with everybody around, but they do it without showing anything. Like they wrap a towel around them and somehow magically they change clothes underneath there with nobody seeing, which means it's kind of important, right?
I guess.
So in human development, right? Everybody see this? that infants are made in the image of their parents, and they're thinking and feeling and experiencing things, but they don't have this sense of judgment about what it is. Like, this is wrong, or this is right, or I don't want this to happen, or I do want this to happen. And this is what number 17 is getting at. So humanity now, because of Adam, has its own attitudes about what's right or wrong, or what it wants or what it doesn't want. And most of the time, too much of the time, it's contrary to the Creator. Okay, so we've run out of time. We are going to have a quiz on this chapter 7. I'll send that to you on Sunday. We'll grade it first thing on Monday. And then we need to finish up with Genesis 3, though. Otherwise, we can't make sense of the rest of the semester. So have a great weekend, everyone. Albert, so great to have you back.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Don't eat fruit from trees that are forbidden. Delete your social media.
Have a great rest of your day.
Hey, take care, Albert. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Yeah.